How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is time again this month for the Hooligans Cars and Coffee, and I decided that I needed to start getting this thing out there, so I pulled it out. And I think it's important that I give a little bit of a backstory on this car. A lot of people don't even know this car exists. Even friends of mine don't even know this car exists. So the backstory is, when I was in college about 14, 15 years ago, I had a real affinity for the fastback cars, all the fastback cars, especially the more odd and unique ones like Marlins and Chargers. And I found this thing. Guy had it. It was just a tub. It had been drag raced a ton, had a ton of motors run through it. Originally a 318 car, not a real valuable car, automatic car. It had the floor butchered open for stick shift trannies that had been running it and all kinds of stuff. I think I picked the thing up for $1,000 or something. I have the original ad. I'll put a little picture here for you guys to see. But I ended up becoming friends with the guy I bought it from. He's an older guy. He's in his early 50s at the time. And he and I hit it off. His friends and I hit it off. We just started hanging out. He showed me a bunch of stuff, how to rebuild engines. He showed me all kinds of neat stuff about cars. And we went around to swap meets at car shows. And I guess he added me to his existing crew. And we just kind of hung out. I don't really want to get into names, and I don't really want to get into details, but at that age and at that stage, about 15 years ago, I wasn't in a position where I could really build a car to a high level start to finish. I'm not sure I still am, but I do my best. So what happened is I got the motor rebuilt in this thing. I bought a 69 Charger 383 from the same guy, my friend. I got a good 727 transmission from him, and I just started going through this thing. I got it running and driving. I drove it back and forth to college. It was white at the time. I added a rattle can to black stripe down the middle, and just, I don't know. I was just having fun with it. It was a fun car for me. As I got towards the end of college, I totaled my car. I was driving my uncle's Jeep, and a fella cut me off on the highway. I totaled it, and I got in kind of a bind. Not this car, but my daily driver, the Jeep 94 Wrangler. And I got in a little bit of a bind, so my folks bailed me out. They said they really wanted to buy this thing from me. They didn't really want to buy it, but they said they did. And it freed up enough money to where I was able to buy a new daily driver and was able to get back and forth to school. I went to school about an hour from here. Well, as I exited college, my parents wanted to restore this thing or do some work on it, make it really nice, and either drive it or sell it. They weren't really sure. So I enlisted the help of my friend who I had bought it from. He and I worked on the build together. I did a bunch of it. He was really good at pretty good at body work and paint. Not so much metal fabrication, but blocking stuff out. And he was kind of a Mopar guy, so he knew quite a bit about them. He quoted a price. It ended up being a little more than that. My parents paid up front. Motivation was lost to work. I don't really want to hash the whole thing out. In recent months, I actually reached out to the guy and made amends a little bit to some degree. I decided I wanted to let grudges go. It's not good for us. But the long story short is he ended up charging a little bit extra and then he punted it. And wasn't done, had some issues, and there were some words and even some threats a little bit. There's a hot moment there. And again, I don't want to get into ripping on anybody. Stuff happens. I don't know what was going on in his life at the time. He might have had some issues. I don't know. The thing got yanked though, pulled back home, and mom and dad and I all had kind of a sour taste in our mouth. So the thing just got tucked away. It's sad because it's a really beautiful car. Probably one of the best color matches for the factory, this darker red factory color that you'd find. And because we found some hidden spots where this paint was, and we were able to replicate it perfectly. We were originally going for a little bit of a 70s hot rod kind of vibe, you know. We shaved off the top trim. We put some 74 Charger bucket seats, the high back bucket seats in, but upholstered them to match the 66 interior. It had a bunch of really cool stuff done on it. The idea being kind of like a guy in the early 70s, you know, he's hot rodding the thing, puts a little hotter motor in and upgrades the interior, shaves some trim, that kind of deal. But anyway, I thought I'd bring you guys along. We're going to get this thing washed up. We're going to get it waxed. Got to put wax on, protect that paint. We're going to wrap it up. I'm not going to get it all done in this video, but we're going to wrap it up. Today I put the door seals on it. I started putting the rocker trim clips on. You know, we have polished up stainless rocker trim for this thing. Needs a few pieces of carpet put in, needs the rear seats installed the rest of the way, seat belts in the back, you know, some light covers. The hood pulls janky and doesn't work worth a dang. The hood latch adjustment doesn't work real well, but I think it's time. It is time. A beautiful car. It's probably had, at the time we stopped working on it, it had, my parents had invested $18,500 in the restoration. That was 12 years ago, you know, that was quite a bit of money. It's had a lot of time, a lot of hours. That didn't count the rebuilt engine that I had paid for. It didn't count a lot of things. But we're gonna get this thing dolled up. We're gonna get it put back together. It runs like a top. It drives great. It's a lot of fun. And we'll just see what happens. Maybe my folks will decide to keep it. But I think we are going to sell it. And if you guys, if anybody out there is interested in the thing, you know, we've got a number in mind. But we're not gonna list it. We're not gonna put that out there until we get it wrapped up and ready to go. And if somebody wants it real bad how it is, or somebody wants it real bad when it's done, you know, just my email's in the description of every video. Feel free to reach out. But it's just time. I've avoided this long enough, and I feel bad about that. I feel really bad about that. But let's get into it. Things I got to do to help get this thing ready to go is I got to put these clips on so I can get the rocker panel mounted up. They sell these kits for these clips because these clips get brittle real easy. And they got a little tab, little hole. That holds the rocker trim on. Back here the holes accidentally got filled in with filler. So we're gonna have to drill new holes for the one clip I'm gonna put back here. That should be fine. Anyway, we need our holes to line up. Okay. That's hole number one. Just double check before we get too far in. Perfect. We had this trim professionally polished some years back by a local guy who polished trim. He has passed away since then, but his work will live on at least here.
make me think about it.
Come on. Here, you lean right there. Stand right there. Yeah. See, happy birthday on my own car. Yep. Yeah. Will you sit with me?
No.
It's 40th birthday. We're gonna sing him happy birthday. Oh, I got Pat instead. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chris. Happy birthday to you.
Yay!